Oh no, I left. Oops, oops.
At least he stayed. Oh, damn it. Oh, fuck.
Too late.
Oh, man. And we were right in the prop arc.
I know it. Oh no, I left. Oops.
At least he stayed. Oh, damn it. Oh, fuck.
So there you saw an airplane that was not landed too well, and lots of damage up front. Prop, spinner bulkhead, flywheel, gearbox, bottom cowling, exhaust, a little bit of damage behind the flywheel, some sensors at the bottom of the engine, all just ground away on the pavement. So, someone bought the plane, a flying club. Nice club out here in Corona, California, and they're trying to get it back in the air. So, put it back together, got some repair work done, and then I was hired to come out here and inspect it and help them fix some issues that they were having with it. So that's what this video is about. And also a list for them of things to fix after I leave, which I will today. So the ground too, once this vibrates for a few hours, there's a break right there. So that needs a clamp either here or at least a tie wrap here or something. And then we want to see more than one ground. So is there another ground somewhere? So there'll be a lot of mentions in this video about wrong practices, things that could be done differently and all that. And that's okay. That's not blaming anyone. And not everyone actually, you know, including myself, know everything there is to know about proper procedures and things. So don't take that the wrong way. This first clip we just saw, here we need to have two separate braided flexible grounding straps from the engine to the ground terminals on the firewall. There is a nice box there where they can go to, but since nothing is strain relieved, and that's hard to do anyhow, I would rather just see them replace the two. Well, there's only one ground, so make two ground cables. We can make them up at our shop if needed, that are braided flexible grounding straps, and install them from the engine to the firewall. And then from here to here, from here to here, all that stuff can be eliminated. So basically this is going to go to the starter, and then there's going to be a big cable from the starter directly to whatever's powering the starter. Then we get rid of this thing floating through the air. Well, this will end up going where it is. That's fine, because that's already strain relieved. Everything's fine there. And this thing swimming in the air here, like vibrating like that, it's just a matter of time before this comes off here. So that can go back through here, and then it can go directly to the starter supply.
And the alternator.
Put the shunt only to measure the alternator output, not to see how much you're drawing for the whole airplane, because then the problem with that is if that fails, then you can have as many backups as you want. If that fails, you're done. So that's one thing there. Okay, so unfamiliar with this radiator, no idea where that came from. Looks like quite a bit of core, very little opening, almost no opening for cooling. And
Cooling's been good since we turned the pump the right way.
so now we're getting into like the real issues with bringing the plane back into the air. There's been a constant effort to cool the engine, and initially it was found that when the engine and everything was put back together after the mishap, the alternator belt was routed incorrectly, and it was driving the coolant pump backwards. So that took quite a bit to figure out. Eventually the club found that problem and corrected it. We're also looking here at a non-standard, very, very small radiator for the engine, and it is not going to be enough radiator or enough air inlet to the radiator So that needs to be updated. This hose here probably should just be replaced with fuel injection hose. So here's an interesting find. This little piece of hose was by the club replaced with a stainless steel braided hose. Now it is inside the split loom, but some of the hose was exposed. And because there was no real cooling after the cowling had been fixed, there was really no inlet up front at all and no exit. There was a ramp underneath for the radiator, for that tiny little radiator, but no air going in or out of the cowling. And then with the black cowling and a hot day and then flying and producing power, the lack of cooling and the stagnant heat and the absorption through this braided steel made the fuel boil in the fuel flow transducer and this piece of hose and out at the mechanical fuel pump on the engine. There's no inlet either in front blowing a little air onto the mechanical pump. So all in all, it was set up to be, even though it's pressurized fuel, a disaster in the sense that there was just way too much heat being accumulated. So once we removed the cowling and I flew it without the cowling, things were starting to fall into place, and there was no indication of any vapor lock or any hesitation in the engine as I was flying it. But it took a while to figure that out after going through the whole airplane and the electrical system and fittings and fuel system and all this kind of stuff we went through. The airplane got updated to our new fuel system because of it, which was really nice. Anyhow, there were lots of things that are coming about because of this that were updated, but that wasn't the cause of the little hesitation that the engine had at times.
You got another piece?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, let's take.
I'm
So
not gonna
we
take
were
my
just
bigger
talking about, like, the small terminals on the batteries, but these are supposed to be like skinnier cables. These are number 10, and there should be another number 10 here. And then once they get to the contactors, bang, join them together, and then the output is a 6 or a 4, and that's what this will then go directly to the starter. And we're. So here's where things were not quite up to date. New batteries were installed, Odyssey batteries, so that is now up to date, but the wiring stayed the same. So we have large cables rather than number 10s like it shows on the wire diagram going to these tiny little battery lugs. In fact, both batteries are used for starting, so that's why there's just individual number 10s with much smaller lugs. And then in general, around the whole battery installation and behind the engine, it's very crowded and somewhat unorganized and not bundled properly and all that. So let me throw in a picture of some more up-to-date installation, and you'll see the difference of what the installations are looking like in today's world. Here we see a dual throttle setup that was home brewed, and it's fairly nice. It's just a lot of friction, and it really can't be that way for safe flying. Like, you can't set the throttle properly. If you push one in or the other one in, there's a lot of friction, and you can feel the bending of the cables and just not a smooth operating throttle like it's supposed to be. So I would suggest just replace it with what everybody else is using. Now, clearly, since I was going to fly this airplane, we went through absolutely everything, and a lot of things. Like, the whole landing gear was very loose. The rubber pieces were all deteriorated, and no torque on any bolts. So a lot of air could be seen through. But we got that fixed. We got them all snugged up. You can see a 1/4 inch of air here between the orange and the landing gear. And here, another one, no safety on the nose wheel and very loose sleeves, so that needs to be snugged up and finished off. There's a little air here too. So, and there's a missing engine mounting bolt. A lot of things were removed from the engine and put back on, because so here is a clear example of something, you know, that can easily get you oversized all copper battery terminal that if it moves on there, which it's likely to do because it's kind of on the battery, but it's swimming on the battery on the stud, and then there's a nut trying to hold it down, or a washer, but it's not pushing on it. So you know, the screw is tight, but not the actual cable. So it needs to have proper, you know, aircraft grade terminals and tinned copper cables and the right size and all this kind of stuff, especially for an airplane that's going to be flying in a flight club and everybody's counting on the airplane to start and run every time. So we got rigid Teflon liner in this hose, which doesn't go with a crimp clamp onto this plastic fitting. It's hard hose with hard braiding clamped onto plastic. So we're gonna have to replace the hose from here to here. So I'm about to take this airplane into the air, and I'm noticing how heavy the controls feel. And they're not really, you know, overly tight or anything. It's just that the Y handle on the center stick had been chopped off and the grip put directly onto that. So the stick was effectively probably 6 to 8 inches shorter. So very low mechanical advantage to move the controls. So it feels very, very strange, especially since you're moving your wrist side to side to move those big ailerons or flaperons when you're trying to fly the airplane. This clamp is going to come up a little bit.
This hose
almost,
used to end right
almost
here.
off the. So just put it up a little bit.
So any blow by we could
And same with this one. Lift it up a half an inch or so. So clearly, this radiator is going to be replaced with the proper size, but the clamps have to go up a little bit. You can't be at the end of a hose like that because it will actually work its way off the hose over time, or it can anyhow. And then just to clean all this stuff up, get rid of all this double clamp stuff, put some Whitaker clamps, just make it look better with the right clamps. Not a safety hazard, but just to make it look pretty. So we gotta just replace these little horseshoe terminals with ring terminals to engage the contactor. And this one should have a 45 here. So, because this is going uphill, so you could get air bubble up here. So according to installation, this gets a 45 immediately so that it starts going down here, and then it can go back like it is right here. All right, not a safety issue, but this hose is all spongy. Needs to be 3/16 fuel injection hose to keep that from leaking oil over time. That's the one that goes to the back of the gearbox here. So that will leak oil if it's not replaced. All right, so we got good fuel pump installation. I wouldn't solder wires for aviation, but not a big deal, but it's not common practice to solder wire because of the stress riser or fracture wiring. And then we've got just basically one little thing. We had a lot of leaks like here and up there. So those are just junctions between the hoses coming across, just to go from the 3/8 aluminum down to the 5/16 fuel injection hose. So we had fuel down in here with a little bit of water. So, but we get that cleaned up. Nice brackets for the lines.
Yeah. Those are, yeah. I think Sean printed those.
Yeah, those are cool.
No, these may be original. Hey, Sean, did you print these brackets that hold the hard lines?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We gotta tighten. I should get some safety wire here and then just tighten it up so that doesn't spin, because that's what holds the inner brace of the bearing. So we gotta tighten this up a little bit. basically this board, it has poly fuses in it. So now we got the pump wired directly. And that's the only thing that we really fixed. We put a little new software in the computer. It's been a couple of years since that was done. So we got a nice smooth idle. Other than that, let's get some avionics alternator on here. Some strobe lights. Flaps are up. Trim is set. Radio is where it needs to be. And we've got a header tank full of gas. 10 gallons in each tank. So we're ready to start taxiing. So here's where I would suggest now go in and rewire the batteries with proper aviation terminals and cables, and then install a 5-switch Viking panel between the instrument panel and console, and that way it can be wired directly from the main bus, and everything for the engine, fuel pumps, alternator, contactors, all that stuff can be engaged without having to rely on the electronic polyfuse type of board, the EXP board there. And then it can be still used, but it will be a 30 amp breaker or fuse between everything in the airplane and to that, so that we can separate the engine from the rest of the airplane. And that existing switch panel can then be used for lights and strobes and all that kind of stuff. That will be a really nice upgrade, and it'll separate avionics and airplane from engine, which is very important. Now I definitely would get the trim correct. So pulling is up just like the stick and pushing is down. So that needs to be fixed up, in my opinion. Alright, we got to put some nuts on this one and the one above it in order to, because the threads tore out of the back piece there. And right now we're going to do the oil pan. Previous owner had see this black stuff here. That's not Honda. Honda is gray stuff, they call it, or gray, Honda gray. So we're taking this down because we got an oil leak up front here, and we're going to fix that up, put some new sealer on. And as I showed you in the beginning with the video where the airplane was nosed over and grind around the runway, tearing up the prop and everything, there's a lot of things that were initially kind of partially fixed, but there's still leaks and missing bolts and all that. So we're kind of working our way through that up front here. So airplane rolls to the right quite a bit with the ball centered, and the stick is really too short for good control of the airplane. So we went to all that trouble to reseal the oil pan. Not a bad thing because it had been off before. So we got that all done, all new sealer. But the oil leak is actually not from there. The previous owner had the gearbox off, and we can now see that the cover behind the gearbox, basically the crankshaft seal cover, is what's leaking. So it needs to just pull the gearbox, reseal that, probably just get another crankshaft seal while you're at it, because that's the same job. It's part of that cover. All right, turned out to be a beautiful day. Nice, successful trip out here. Flew it an hour now, uneventful. So we'll make this video up about, this is a flying club, so they're gonna go ahead and improve on the things that needs to be improved. Had the gearbox updated not too long ago, and they're on the 12 ounces. They're going to be going to 10 ounces. I know it's a little confusing, but we started at 8, then we just kind of jumped to 12 because more is better, right? But that makes it a little bit too warm, so because of the extra friction. So we've settled on 10. 10's the magic number, 10 ounces. And airplane feels nice, flies good. The main thing was a little vapor lock going on because of no cooling of the pump, a braided hose underneath here that absorbed a lot of heat, things on the firewall that got hot, together with a cowling that has almost no air going into it, and this tiny little radiator that takes up most of the inlet. You only got like a 2 by 8 by the time you account for those hoses and stuff of inlet, and a very narrow radiator. So and deep, so air can't get through it. But all that aside, this was a nice video. It was fun coming out here. I do feel a little bit though that, this is California. We have this machine and a few other machines out here, and clearly Viking wants to have a good reputation. And then we end up with a thing like this, where everybody's trying to, they took over this plane, but it had been crashed. And nobody really knew how badly it had been crashed, because the video that we had was really not circulated because nobody wants to show a video of somebody crashing. So, but now it's out and people understand that things were damaged. Flywheel was damaged, oil pan was damaged, gearbox was damaged, crankshaft seal was damaged, and just basically needed a lot of fixing. But here she is, back in the air, and it's gonna get just better from here.